Hello again, everyone. Here we are in match 3, taking the play. And not the best hand. Counterspell into a Gisela. It could be better, but against like a aggressive or even a mid-rangey deck, we might have some action here. And we've at least got a Blighted Cataract for much later in the game as well, if we're up against a very slow, grindy matchup. So I think we can start off with a Prairie stream. If they miss on turn 2, and then we can disallow their turn 3 play and follow it up with a Gisela, that could be quite good actually. Otherwise, we're going to have to try and find like a Glimmer of Genius or something to keep up with our opponent's threats. Alright, Channel Initiate is pretty decent, but the way things are going, we might be able to counter their turn 3 play, 4 drop maybe, and then play Gisela the next turn if we can find a white source. We could have also declared this in stone, but if it's like a rogue inventor or something, I think I'd rather just disallow that. Looks like that could be the case. A rogue refiner, that guy. I will go ahead and counter that, and if we don't find a white source, I might just declaration in stone here. Okay, anticipate into a declaration sounds fine. Let's see if we can find a white source though. Alright, cast out is pretty decent here, as is the farmland, because that's a card later from Pull from Tomorrow. It's also the white source that we're missing for Gisela. I think we can actually justify taking it. Doesn't feel too good, especially if we do go for the declaration in stone here. I think that if they play a 5-drop, that's potentially a little too threatening, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this now. And if it's something like a Hydra or whatever, then we've got time to find a Fumigate or a Blessed Alliance for it. If they just want to take their entire turn 4 to like crack a clue and then play another channeler, that doesn't really leave us that far behind. But I definitely could have seen taking the cast out there as well, just trying to play it safe and naturally draw a white source. But I think the farmland is perfectly fine here. Oh, and there's another white source anyway, so I think we're going to go ahead and just jam Gisela. We can still block them if they don't have a Harnessed Lightning or some way to gain 2 more energy, or 4 more energy rather, to pump this up to high enough. Okay, they just make it easy on us. Take out Gisela, but they're not doing anything else. We're just taking 3 this turn. Could be worse. Let's see what we find. Okay, I think now I will go ahead and cycle this if we can find something else to do with all this land. Alright, probably next turn just going to go ahead and fire off a Pull from Tomorrow. If we're still just taking 3 or 4, that's not too bad. They found their 4th land, but it's a tapped one. They're going for the pumps. So they're not too attached to this. We could very easily have had an answer, and there's one right there. Alright, could be time to pull the trigger on this Pull from Tomorrow finally. Get to draw 5 cards, that's pretty decent. See if they go for the pump once more. Nope, just hanging on to it until they maybe play a Hydra or something. They want to have as many activations as they can. Sounds reasonable. Still stuck on 1 red source, so maybe no Glorybringer for a little while. Servant, no big deal. Find a Fumigate and wipe them all away. Alright, I think they must have like a Glorybringer, and they're not playing too many, sensing a board wipe, and the Servant does allow them to cast Glorybringer next turn. I didn't really think that they were holding up a Censor of their own. Don't think that this deck would play those, but who knows. We found another pull and a Glimmer, so we're in pretty decent shape here. 2, 4, 7. We could have 8 mana. That's enough for like a Glimmer, Declaration, and Blessed Alliance. We could also just Glimmer and Disallow and play a tapped land. Every land again becomes something worthwhile now. And we could also just cycle this away. I think we will do that. We've got Glimmer, Cycle, and Alliance, or some combination thereof. I'm not yet too low that we really need to worry about dying out of nowhere. coming at us with both. That's fine. Really want to find a board wipe though. Alright. Let's go ahead and look for an Immolating Glare. There's one. I think we can keep it. And a Fumigate even. So we found everything we need really to close this game out, I think. Let's see if they're willing to pump any more into the cub here. One more time? Nope. Alright, that's okay. Tapping low so that they can force anything through without risking a Disallow, but that's alright, we'll just clean it up anyway. It's got to be a Hydra or something like that soon. Ronos. We can just declare that in stone or wipe the board and then Blessed Alliance here. Not too worried about that. Sure. Alright, cast out. Also a great answer. Another cast out. Okay. So we could cast out and Alliance. That seems pretty decent actually. If they want to like pour their mana into pumping the Servant and attacking with Ronos and the Servant, then we can cast one out and Alliance the other. Sounds pretty good to me. Uses up most of their mana, leaves them with an empty board. And that's what they'll do. Perfect. I don't blame them for going for it. That does appear to be lethal. Interesting they're holding up their red. It could be another Harness Lightning or something to get some energy, but let's just go ahead and cast one of these out. Could also have a Fling, which I think some of these decks are beginning to play. I doubt that it's here. This seems more like your typical mid-range deck and not playing like Pummelers and other things that they want to sacrifice. Guess we can get rid of the Ronos for now. And then we can just Alliance here. Try and buffer our life total as much as possible. They don't really have anything that they can follow this up with that we're too concerned with, and we just get to untap and pull from tomorrow. And that may just prompt a concession in itself. We'll see what happens. Yeah, if they're just playing out their Long Tusk Cubs still, they're in a really bad spot. Really don't think that they're playing Censors, so we can just go ahead and walk into one. If they do have it, then that's obnoxious, but it does not appear that they do. Alright, so we basically have it all right now. We'll go ahead and throw Gisela into probably a Harnessed Lightning. That's alright. Probably end of turn, we'll fight it with like a Negate and just have a couple of counters up. We don't really need another Declaration, and we don't really need the Censor. I think we have more than enough to win without them. Yeah, this is basically what our deck preys upon. Fumigate, Quarantine Field, they're just so good against decks that are tapping out every turn for big, stupid creatures. Don't particularly care about that. They're still trying to maybe get that double red for a, what do you call it? Glory Bringer. Here we're just going to go ahead and block. They're going to try, presumably, to pump out of our reach. We'll first strike, gain a bunch of life, and then cast it out. And we still even have a Negate and an Essence Scatter up after that. So I don't know what else they could have at this point, really. Surprisingly, no Harness Lightning even. If they play a Hydra or anything, I'll just go ahead and Essence Scatter it and start killing them with Gisela. And we've even got card draw that we can fall back on, speak of which, there we have even more in the Glimmer. Now we're actually going to go back up to 21 life. Have our opponent on a 4-turn clock after this turn. Just go ahead and Glimmer now because I always like to hit land drops. And a pull from tomorrow. So we've reached the stage of the game where it's over, even if our opponent doesn't realize or isn't willing to admit it just yet. And it's really hard to lose at this point. I mean, we have a limited number of resources, but it's not too difficult to figure out what the right sequence to play them in is. And that's just my favorite part of playing Control. Where after maybe fighting so hard at the beginning, you get to that point where you've reached stability and you just take over. Perhaps a Harness Lightning now, but perhaps not. Nope. Very strange that they have 5 cards in hand but nothing to cast, really. Besides middling creatures here and there. No removal spells, no counter spells. What do they have? Alright, a Hydra, we could counter that. May as well. It's not like it's going to outrace us, but I like to keep our opponent's board under control and manageable. Alright, Magma Spray. Or Harness Lightning or some such. Going for the Exile is obnoxious, so I will certainly fight over that. We would be able to easily find another way to win the game, I think, but no reason to let it go on longer than necessary. We could have cracked a Cataract here, but just gonna keep as many lands in play as we can and have it all. So just your typical teamer mid-range deck from the looks of it. You can expect maybe Confiscation Coups out of the sideboard. Those are always worth remembering, could be coming out at any time. Alright, Glorybringer is annoying because it can actually deal with Gisela, and we don't have a Bruna to deal with that, so just go ahead and get rid of this now. Probably gonna cycle a Farmland and a Censor and whatever else you want to do, really. Not much else that we're really looking for, but might as well keep digging for counters and whatnot. We don't really have to show them anything, but do love drawing cards. Harness Lightning shall deftly swat that aside, and hopefully that prompts a concession. Alright, on to game 2. So, cards like Glorybringer, Rogue Refiner, Tireless Tracker, those are all quite good, but definitely bringing in a Fumigate. I do like Jace a lot, but not as much on the draw, particularly against things like Glorybringer and the Hexproof Hydra. They are pretty effective at keeping Planeswalkers under control. Don't really like the Aether Thieves. They are good against excuse me, Rogue Refiners and Channeling Initiates and Servants of the Conduit, but not so good against anything else that can get pumped out of our reach, or Glorybringer that can just breathe flame all over us. Same kind of goes for Thalia's Lancers, though they also have the added utility of tutoring up a Bruna, Gisela, Stasis Snare or something. So our opponent may just hang on to their Harness Lightnings. I doubt that they're going to keep the Magma Sprays, but that is worth considering. What do we not need? I didn't see any Chandras or other Planeswalkers. If anything, they might be playing a Torch of Defiance or two. Do we really need to change up our deck that much? I wonder. I just don't see how they deal with a Kefnet, so maybe we can go lesser on the Angels because they're actually vulnerable to what they have, and we can just find more ways to find Kefnet, such as Thalia's Lancers. I want to try that out, see if I like this better on the draw particularly, and a Linvala just to stabilize that much more easily. Alright, let's try this out. When we're playing 4 Fumigates, I do love having Kefnet still in the deck. It deals just fine with things like Glorybringer as long as we have the cards in hand. This is a pretty solid hand. If we can just rattle off a few lands, we've got early interaction, 2 actually, Immolating Glares. Just need to get to 4 mana so we can Glimmer into our 5th. Alright. Still got a couple of chances to find what we need. Opponent's off to a particularly slow start. Do need a little bit of luck here. Either an Anticipate or just naturally rolling off a couple lands would be ideal. We have a pretty great hand though, if we can just find the means to cast our spells. Okay, Rogue Refiner, sadly no Censor for that, and no land either. That is not a good sign. I think we are going to need Fumigates here, definitely one, if not the second. I really don't want to discard any of our early spells though, especially Kefnet, because that may be one of our only ways to win. So I think it's got to be the Pull from Tomorrow, unfortunately. Even if I could only cast that for 1 mana, that could be all we need. But I think I want to hang on to the rest of these much more. And just fight as best we can. That should be the only card we have to discard, since we're using Immolating Glares every turn. Opponent might just play like a Tireless Tracker and land. Pretty lame for us, but we're getting there. Could play Kefnet here, but it doesn't really do too much. I'd much rather get this off the board before it racks up any more clues. Interesting, no pre-combat land from our opponent. Try and smite that now. Okay. Could be worse. Okay, so they could have gotten the land earlier. It was odd. I guess now they get to play their Hydra though. Really need a land here, untapped preferably. Okay, things are looking up. Just going to main phase this now. I doubt that they're playing counter magic so easily. They would have already used it most likely. Don't really need the Disallow. We're just going to try and wipe our opponent's board over and over again, it seems. Don't really need counter spells, just need more land and draw spells really. Alright, are they holding up counters now? If they are, just a single blue mana, it could be something like a Negate, perhaps not an Essence Scatter though. I doubt that they're playing Essence Scatters. So I think we can just go for the Thalia's Lancers here. And then find a Linvala most likely. I think that is our only option, isn't it? Since we have Kefnet in hand. Yep. Alright. So we can at least play that next turn. Can't really block our opponent because they can pump this out of reach. Rather just kind of let them be incentivized to apply more to the board. And when they do, we get to Fumigate. Ooh, okay. Cut to Ribbons. I'm surprised they left that in the deck, but with Channelers and Servants of the Conduit, they can actually kill us with Ribbons, which we do have to keep in mind. Quarantine Field, that's a good one. Alright. Yeah, if we had 7 mana, I think I would play the Kefnet here, and then just be able to draw cards back into our hand. We could threaten to block, but I'd rather just get that Hydra off the board. Tireless Tracker now, probably just going to do that again, Fumigate. Could also Glimmer into maybe playing a Kefnet here. Can't quite block, but that does maybe provoke our opponent into playing more threats out, but it also gives them more chances to draw cards off of the tracker. I think I just want to hit our land and play our threat here. Okay, just take the 1. Anticipate, that's a decent draw as well. Oops. Alright, so I don't know how they deal with a Kefnet, assuming this resolves, how they get it off the board exactly. Won't be easy for them. And now we're free to just Fumigate over and over again, and we'll have a Linvala to stabilize. If they have like a Chandra, then we can Quarantine Field them as well. So we've got some options. Yes, play more Your precious creatures, good, good. They shall all be swept away before long. Opponent cracks a clue in response, deals a little bit more damage. Right, still no sources of black mana for the ribbon side of things. That is good. Just going to play our Port Town and anticipate here. Oh, there they have the negate finally. Alright, are we actually dead now? Yeah, that could have done us in. I should have maybe given more thought to that and played the Linvala. That was almost certainly correct, so I apologize for that. Not really paying much more attention. I figured they would have negated earlier, but perhaps they just drew it. Perhaps they've been hanging on to it. But yeah, they almost certainly have it if they play a land, or if they go for the energy pumps. So we're in a lot of trouble here. Yeah, there's nothing really we can represent here. So, alright. Well played by our opponent. We probably were better off just playing the Linvala, but I really wanted to wipe the board before doing that. That was probably a preventable loss. So let's try not to make that mistake again. Not particularly a fan of the Aether Meltdown. I think it gets outclassed a little too quickly. Similarly, I don't really want to help them draw cards, even though Declaration is good at keeping the board clear early on. I want to try Dovin Baan, I think, and maybe Jace on the play. I think they have more use here. Let's try that out. Everything else I am quite happy to have. Don't really want to shave lands either. Okay. So what are we hoping for our opener? Let's see what we have. Okay. Censor, I'm happy. Once again, kind of hoping to draw the lands to get there, but I do like having Kefnet in our opener. I like having the Censor. We can use it on turn 2 or cycle it away if we still haven't found land by then. And we have plenty of early interaction and even a board wipe. So as far as opener goes, it's pretty solid. Opponent's just going to turn 1 Ether, tune with Ether. So maybe they are somewhat land light here, or that's just their only untapped green source. We'll see. Alright, still nothing. As sad as I am to lose the counter, I think we have to find that third land. Okay, we found another Censor. Kind of just want to play out Kefnet now. I doubt very much that they are playing Essence Scatters, but we'll see. And they are. That was unexpected. We still have our Planeswalkers though. They're going to play a Rogue Refiner maybe. We'll have to use our mana now to counter it. Alright, that did not work out. I'm really surprised at the Essence Scatters. But I guess they had a lot to sideboard out. And it makes sense to bring in against things you can't deal with, like Kefnet, for instance. Right here, we can just glare that away. I'm probably going to cycle to find our next land. Yeah, may as well now. And then get the replacement card, possibly a second. Once again, finding all the board wipes, but no reliable way to cast them. Definitely going to use the Blessed Alliance here to get that off the board if we can. They're just going to go ahead and get their value now. Have them sacrifice a creature. Maybe Hydra. Okay. Hydra's not the worst. We do have the answers to it. Declaration in Stone, not what we wanted here. I'm just going to go ahead and try to draw into our 5th land. Whether it's tapped or untapped. Probably pitch the Stone. Yeah. Now next turn we can play a Linvala or wipe the board. Still at a healthy life total, but our opponent is up on cards, and we don't really have a whole lot of action past these board wipes. If they play a 3rd creature, then I think we are in fantastic shape. But I can't imagine they will. Just holding up a Negate now. Yeah. Could play the Linvala in an effort to get them to spend more of their energy here and commit more to the board. So I think I'm actually happy with that. Use up our mana a bit better. Next turn we can anticipate and Fumigate maybe. They're playing a second Essence Scatter. I think they're more likely to have a Negate at this point. Okay. Could be worse. They need another point of energy if they want to be able to outclass Linvala in combat. Probably just going to crack a clue or harness Lightning Linvala down here, but that also eats into their energy. Or cycle. That seems odd. I think you would rather always use the clue. Let's see what they got. It's like a Glory Bringer, and that's not the worst. And they still can't even pump this out of reach, can they? Pump it twice to 5 toughness. So sure, I'll take that trade. Use up their energy and get the Hydra off the board. Now they might play a second. No. Alright, I'm just going to happily trade with them. They may have a Glorybringer coming, but that's perfectly fine. Oh, that is a tough call, though. Glimmer or a Jace. I want both these cards. I think if we get the Jace to stick, though, he will very quickly be better than a Glimmer. The only difference really is being able to play on our opponent's turn. I think I want the Jace, though. Wish I could take both. Probably want to cycle into finding like a Disallow or something, though. More valuable than the land drop. Yeah, we find one anyway. Alright, so here if they do have the Glorybringer, then we just Fumigate. Miss out on 3 damage, that's fine. They may have the Negate for that, though. More than enough mana to cast both. This is likely a Glorybringer. Alright, there we go. If they exert it, that's really not that bad. We take 7, and then we could board wipe. If they counter it, then we're only taking 3 the following turn. And they might even play more creatures thinking that we're out of Fumigates. So that's really not the worst position. And now also if we find a Disallow, we can play one of our 5 drops and still have a counter spell available. So hopefully now they just play out another small creature or 2. Or Hydra, that'd be nice too. And not have a counter spell, preferably. Sadly no. We do have to get these off the table if we can. We do. Alright, so they play something small. We can play Jace and bounce it back, as long as it's not on the Glorybringer, which it looks like it might be. Yeah. We do have 2 mana answers to this, though. And they might start going after Jace, which will buy us even more time. Blessed Alliance, that is a good one. Okay, things are looking up, I'd say. If this resolves, especially so. Okay. Cast out is perfectly reasonable, I think. Just having more answers to whatever their follow-up is. Sure. See if they just go for us, though, to try and kill us as quickly as they can. Yep. Alright. Try and gain some life here. Actually, I suppose I'd rather have the Alliance for a Hydra. So I would rather, if they have a counter spell, then I'd rather this gets countered. So we'll just take that. No Blossoming Defense, thankfully. Alright, Servant, that's not going to do much. Oh, and even a Appetite for the Unnatural. Instant, okay. So we have a counterspell now. I think what we want to do is bounce the Servant. Maybe they just attack Jace, doesn't matter. We can Blessed Alliance it then, unless they have another hasty creature. So, as much as I like drawing cards, I think that is right. We could have also bounced the Glorybringer and then countered it, but I'd rather leave them with just the Servant in hand, in case they do have some crazy combination of counter spells or something. Now they're still coming after us. We'll try and get rid of that while gaining some life. We still have 2 Cataracts in hand and an active Planeswalker on the board to maybe just a 2-drop. That's all I got. I think we're going to start taking over this game pretty quickly. Okay. 1 card in hand, really, that we care about. No idea what it is, but we'll see. Wait. Yeah, they just played a forest. Almost thought that they played a mountain after ethering for a forest. That is not the case, though. Okay, let's go nuts. Start drawing cards. Don't need land anymore. I'll take a Quarantine Field, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can Immolating Glare this and still crack a Cataract. Coming after Jace. I will protect him with my life. And I got nothing. Alright. I think that will be it. Then we're starting to turn the corner finally. That was rough, though. Alright, you can get a Dovin Baan add to the party. Come on in, join us. Yeah, we still can't crack the Cataract yet. And probably just going to start drawing cards off of him. It's not really that important we get to his emblem. Jace's emblem would be fantastic. And they're using a Negate on that. Yeah, that's really not that big of a deal. I've got other sources of card draw that I'm perfectly fine with. So let's just see what we anticipate into, though. Okay, I'll take a pull. Yeah, that is not worth fighting over. At this point, we have all the cards we want, and we're getting pretty close, actually, to a Jace ultimate as well. Healthy enough life total, we're not just going to get cut to ribbons out of nowhere. That'd be funny if that was their last card in hand, because they could actually cast it for quite a sum. Well, I guess we'll see if they have that land. If they do, it's fine. They turn it into something. They don't. I almost want to say that that's just a cut to ribbons in their hand. And I'm going to save this cast out for now. More counter magic would be great. More lands. Not as much, but still fine. Let's go ahead and get that guy out of here. I think they might have a cut to ribbons, though. So that is worth playing around. They could nearly kill us with the Aftermath side. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut this to death. See if they go for it. They do need something to target with it. Oh, I miscounted my mana. Whoops. Alright, so we can't quite crack it, but that's alright. We could have also pulled there, but no need really. Just find some Lancers, okay. Sure. They might have a Harnessed Lightning or something, in which case I would probably fight it. Okay, the last card was an Essence Scatter. Might as well just counter that. We can still counter the next. Now we have a blocker. Next turn we can ultimate the Jace if we want, and then pull from tomorrow and win the game with whatever we have on the board. Oh, right, they dealt with Linvala already, so no targets for Lancers, sadly. But I don't think it'll be necessary. No attacks. I do want Jace to stick around, so let's just go ahead and plus him once more. Next we get our emblem, and that should be the game. We've got some of the most powerful cards in our deck in hand. Pretty quick clock on the board, and we're going to have the almighty Jace soon. So please no Negate here. They do not have it. Might as well just pull from tomorrow, or a bajillion. Let's play around Censor. I don't think it's necessary, but sure. Get that sweet emblem. See what we can find. As long as we have some way to deal with the Servant, I can start attacking with the Lancers. That's kind of obscene amount of card drawing. I have to put the brakes on that for just a moment longer. They can't really do anything. They need multiple cards to even get anything to stick. Tireless Tracker just gets countered. And they're going to play out their last card, presumably, unless they don't know what the emblem does. Looks like they don't. Okay. Stasis Snare or more Lancers. Just take a Snare, I guess. Let's take both. Cycle that. And snare that. So this game is very much over, I think. Jace emblem pretty much puts the brakes on anything they could hope to do. And now we just try and kill them quickly before we tech ourselves. I don't really need to plus Jace, but well, anyway. Now that we have a Disallow and an Essence Scatter, there's virtually nothing they can do in time to win here. Just have to not die to decking ourselves. Just 2 more turns to find multiple threats. Something better than a Chandra. Okay. Hydra would be good, but fortunately it will not stick. And now they literally can't even do anything until they're dead. They won't have the cards. So that will do it. We'll be on to match 4 in just a moment. Still undefeated with our revised blue-white deck. So thank you everybody for bearing with me so far. Hope we're having fun. Be back in just a moment.